Sorry about that game last week. Was that like your third string? I don't know. What happened?
What are you saying?
Yeah. I'm actually pretending. Nick's sitting over here, my team leader, is looking at me. He's like, he doesn't even watch football. I went to my first football game the other day. It was a Super Bowl. I'd never been to a football game before. The guy with me kept explaining what everybody was doing. All I knew was when the Seahawks guys cheered, which was like 90% of the audience, by the way, that I should cheer. And then we won in like the first 12 seconds. So I ate hot dogs. How many people were in the room with me last year? It's kind of a, well, thank you for coming back. Look at all the empty seats. Did I say something wrong?
No, it's a big room.
They didn't give us a room for 50, they didn't put 500 in it like last year? No. All right. Is it officially time to start? I'm going to turn off see, I'm going to give you guys an example. Please turn off your phones. If your phones go off, then you got to give $100 to KW Cares. If the person doesn't admit it, I'll split it 50-50 with you if you point out your neighbor this phone goes off. Okay, I'm off. Planning for a big year with the 135. This must not have been the sexiest title we've ever taught. But it will be fundamentally one of the best concepts that you guys could actually implement into your business and just make a huge life. And I know that this is a tool that'll just change your world, because once Gary Keller asked me for something, and I worked on it days and days and days, and I'm like, Jolene, where's Jolene at? Jolene, make this pretty for me, and she makes it pretty, and then I mail it to Gary, you know, it's beautiful, you know, just the sexiest documents you've ever seen, and then I get a one-line email back from Gary that says, please condense this down to one page and use the 135 format. Gary, onward. So he trained me how to use this. Now this presentation, if you guys want to download it, it's briv.it/KWFR. Although none of the words that tie to the slides are on there, so but some of the tools you can use will be there. Apparently, complete your evaluation forms are in the back of your book. If they're good, please turn them in up here. If they're bad, hand them to Nick. Yeah. briv.it/KWFR. Okay. What is a big year? This class is about thinking bigger. It's about sharing your goals, and it's about creating a plan to accomplish them. This isn't the Homer Simpson plan of real estate. The Homer Simpson plan of real estate says, you know, the guy that goes up on stage and he says, I'm going to sell $500 million in real estate, and he finishes a year at 11 million like he's always done. You know, and you know that's a Homer Simpson plan because you get most of the way through the year. In November, you look down, you look at your numbers, and you go, "Don't!" And you realize that you're falling up a little short. This is not that plan. This is about thinking bigger. To do that, you have to change your activities, because the activities you're doing today are giving you the results that you're getting today. You have to change your mindset, and you have to change some of your priorities. I believe that our results are in direct proportion to our activities and our strategies, and thus how we prioritize each one of those. But I want to tie this down a little bit more emotional. When he goes, I'll look up to me. If anybody next to you is on Facebook, just raise your hand. Appreciate the honesty. Okay. Think about this. Everybody with a piece of paper, I want you to write down 2 names. I want you to write down the 2 people you care about most in life. If you don't want to participate, just move your hand around so it looks like you're doing something. Okay. With the exception of the obvious, me, who, for you, are the two most important people in your lives? Hello? Anybody? Thank you. Jesus is my wife. Somebody else? Colby and Dylan. Your daughter and son. Anybody else? Yes. Your son and husband. Yes, ma'am. Yourself. Good. Okay. So we're all kind of getting this idea of who's going to fit in this really, really small circle. And we sit back and we think that we deserve more out of life. We want more out of our life. Not necessarily for us, but maybe for them. Now imagine this. Imagine that they came to work with you and they did not say a word. They just stood behind you. Would they be embarrassed or would they be impressed at the end of the day? Is that one of the craziest thoughts you've had? If your child was standing behind you for the entire day while you're at work, and assuming they know the difference between you being busy and you being productive, how would they feel? Anybody have a little bit of churning in their stomach? That's an awkward feeling, isn't it? Right. But we have these spouses or these other people in our lives that we really care about, and they go to work every day. And if they don't do anything, they would get fired. Right? They get let go. But we're small business owners, independent contractors. We actually have a flexible schedule, flexible income too. As far as I can tell, it goes from 0 for a whole lot of people to a lot for a select few. That's weird, because we get home at the end of the day and we start thinking, or we start talking to our spouses, the people we care about, the most. And they say, "How was your day?" And we just say, it was busy. I worked hard, but is that the truth? Were we really? Right? Well, what I call that is it'd be like cheating on your spouse or abusing your children. Because in reality, if you go to work and you aren't being productive, you're taking money away from their shelter, their food, their dreams, their college fund, all those things. So anytime you're not being productive, if you had that mindset, would you change it? If you knew that they were looking behind you, would you change what you did? If you have a team, then you're thinking differently. You're thinking that I want a business. You know that you have a business when you don't show up and you still get paid. That's a business. You know that you have a good business when you're here and you're not on your phone or in your hotel room working on contracts right now. Right? A business means a couple of things. Number one, if you're not around, so you still get paid. Number two, you make a profit. A profit. Can you believe that? I was sitting next to a guy the other day, made $3 million in commission, netted less than, it was nothing. It was nothing. This world, this thing that we're thinking about, is how do we have a big life? And you can't have a big life without net income. And you can't have a big life if your entire life is consumed with transactions. If your entire life, you're on vacation, you're taking time away from being out on the beach. But team planning. When you own and operate your team, your results are just the summation of everyone's individual goals. So how many people in this room operate a team or are on a team? Raise your hand. Really high, like your arm's not broken, like the quarterback for Denver. Okay, so as we look around, we see that a whole lot of people here are involved in teams. This class, this process of creating a 1-3-5 is for you, because you're going to come up with, hey, this is my grand goal, this is what we're going to do. Jelaine, by the way, what are we going to do this year?
1,000 units.
Every time I ask her, she increases the number. So she said 1,000 units. So what we're saying is, for Jelaine to run my team and get to 1,000 units, we know that our success is not the fact that we created this goal of 1,000 units. Is the summation of each one of our individual team members equal to that 1,000 at the end of the year? Does that make sense? If you did the math of everybody you're working with, would their goals add up to an excess of what your goals are? If not, we have a problem. There's different types of teams in real estate. There's the ones where where I'm not really sure what the agent does. They come in, and somebody else calls the leads and sets the appointment for them, and somebody else negotiates the contract, and then somebody else shows the clients, and then that agent is considered a buyer's agent. I'm not really sure because they haven't actually had any contact with a buyer yet, and they're paid a whole lot of money. To me, that's a broken model. What I want is I want people that bring an equal contribution to my business as I'm bringing to theirs. So that's why when I sit down and I meet with people, I draw this pie chart. And I draw it with everybody I coach, and I draw it with everybody that joins my team. And I take this pie chart, and I draw a line down the center. And on one side I write job, on the other side I write business. Your job when you join my real estate team is to work your sphere. Come up with a plan to make sure that your friends and family are willing to refer you business. Your next piece of your job is being on stage. When you are put on stage, not this rickety surfboard of a thing, I'm being on stage at an open house, being on stage at a networking event. We as realtors, we get to perform. You guys performed for clients before? How are things going in the real estate market? You wouldn't believe it, they're fantastic. See, at that moment, we're performing. I believe that if agents, if we spent more time on stage, we would simply sell more real estate. Somehow, somebody's convinced us that we need to spend more time with our door shut inside our office for the entire day doing the super internet highway, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, blogging, all that kind of junk, right? Instead of actually being on stage. So if you're going to be a part of our organization, we're going to say you got to be on stage a certain amount of time. So when we first started, our team had to host 2 open houses a week. Now, you host as many stinking open houses as you need to contribute to your half of the pie. The next one down is prospecting. When we started our team, we had no money, literally no money. Everybody on our team called canceled expireds. I don't care if you're a buyer's agent, a listing agent, admin. We pick up the phone and we call canceled expireds because we need to get listings. And that was part of the job. And that's where we came up with this concept of our real estate team, which is called Do the 50. Pick up the phone and call 50 people. Because we knew that even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. And if you pick up the phone and you call somebody about something, eventually somebody's going to want to do something similar, related to real estate. Now, when I divide this pie in half, I'm going to say, if you're going to come work for me, in the first 60 to 90 days, you got to bring at least one deal to the table from your sphere. From being on stage or from prospecting. If you're like me and you have no friends, then you're going to do open houses, prospecting. If you have a large database and large friends, then maybe you can get away with doing that. But once you're doing your job, showing up every day, doing those things, and doing one deal a month from that, I'm going to let you into my business. Well, in my business, we have the ability to give you internet leads. We have the ability to give you marketing leads. I kind of call those listing leads, sign calls, flyer calls, all that kind of stuff related to the inventory that we have. And then appointments, where we call the internet leads and give agents appointments to go show. I believe from that side, you're going to get at least one deal a month. So to stay on my team, our expectations is that you're closing 24 deals a year. And that's how we start thinking about how do we get to 1,000 sales, is we're going to need a certain amount of the people doing 25 deals a year. We're going to have a couple exceptional ones that do 50 and 75 and 100, and we have 2 agents on our team right now that have a goal of 150 each. I knew when I add those all up, we're going to have success. Well, the only reason we wouldn't have success would be if we didn't understand the real estate success principles. The real estate success principles is something we entirely made up, just based on our experience on how do we get paid. And I knew that if I wanted to duplicate myself and have somebody else that did a lot of business, they would have to understand these things. Well, the first one is called say the right thing. What do we call that? Hello? Scripts. We call it scripts. Gary just said something really smart earlier today, which I don't remember what it was, so I don't know what I told you. But it had something to do with scripts. On our team, Julian, what time do we start scripts? 8:30. 8:30. Is it optional for people to go? No, it's not optional. 8:30. How many years have some of our people been going to Scripps?
7, 8 years.
7 or 8 years. 7:30 to 8:50 every day of the week. Kind of my thought is if they can come in and beat me at Scripps and objections, then they don't have to go anymore. Unfortunately, they haven't done that because they haven't spent as much time mastering it. But the first step to being successful in real estate is understanding scripts and dialogues. What I mean is when we go back to this pie, do the people know what to say when working their sphere? Do they know what to say when they're on stage? Do they know what to say when they're prospecting? For instance, I'll give you guys a really easy script that you can use. Brand new start of the year. How many people in the room want to take a vacation? Raise your hand. Awesome. Okay. You're going to call your sphere up and you're going to say, hey, I was sitting here and I looked up on the computer screen and I saw a palm tree and I started thinking, all of a sudden, I need a vacation. But one of my priorities first is to make sure all my clients are taken care of. So I wanted to give you a quick call and see what your real estate related plans are for the year. And then once I identify that for all my friends, family, and database, then I'll plan our vacations accordingly. Simple. Is that a hard way to ask for business? No. Very, 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 very simple. Okay, the second real estate success principle, say it enough times. How many people in the room speak French? Canadians? You're a French Canadian?
No, but I speak French.
And Canadian?
Yes.
Well, I don't speak Canadian. Say it enough times. Well, the French word, and real estate agents don't like this word at all, but it's pronounced job in France, right? Or job here in America. What's your stinking job? When you show up every single day, are you doing something? Right? You see the agents that come into the office every single day and they've actually never done a deal? What are they doing? They're getting ready for the listing presentation they've never actually gone on? Right? I don't know what they're doing. Do the job. So how do you know that you're doing a job? Well, you're able to track something. And what are the things that a successful real estate professional will track? Yeah, contacts, dials, appointments, maybe price reductions, referrals. Pretty soon you come up with a mathematical equation. It's not accidental that we pick 50. It's that our average agent on our team could dial about 50 people in 3 hours. And for me, when I dialed, if I talked to 52 people, I would get one listing appointment. We would list 9 out of 10 appointments we went on. So I knew that even if they were sucking at it, they would at least be able to get an appointment or 2 a week. And if you met with an appointment or 2 a week, don't you think that'll change your world? I mean, imagine if every single week you met with one new buyer, one new seller, how would that change your life? And imagine if you have a team, every member of your team did the same thing. Wow. And the third thing is have enough people to say it to. That is a lead problem. Leads are not hard to come by. We go get some internet leads from somebody down in the vendor hall. We take the classes that Keller Williams gives us that teaches us how to generate from e-edge, do the Craigslist postings, do all the simple stuff, right? We pick up our database, we go knock on doors, we call somebody about something, we go to open house, we do a sphere, something like that. Well, you add all those things together and you realize that your job became a business and you're busy enough now that it evolves into a business where other people can have a job and your business grows. The first step in any business or in any professional or when hiring any individual is goal setting. Goal settings are going to come in categories like business, personal, health, relationships, and financial. I want to talk through these guys with you real quick because these matter. If any one of these things are out of order, you're going to have problems. And if you haven't identified these for yourself or these for your loved ones, you're not going to have buy-in from people in your life. Has anybody ever been in a relationship where that person is fighting what you wanted to do in business? It happens, doesn't it? It's because we just haven't sold them on what the benefit is for them. We've been thinking all about it for us. But if we identify our goals, our business goals, how much business are we going to do? And what is that net income going to be? Our financial goals, I want you guys to write these down. Our financial goals, how much reserves do we have? When are we going to have our debt to zero? How much other income do we have coming in every single month, whether I show up or not? That would be like profit share, rental properties, investments, and other businesses. You get those 3 things figured out, you're pretty solid. If you don't have it figured out, you can't plan and budget for your business. Third thing, your health. Do you have enough energy to get through the day? You think about hiring somebody on your team and you realize that right off the bat they have some health issues. Are they going to be able to run at the same pace as you? We always hire people that can run faster than us. Not like physically, but in the workplace. If not, then what happens is that you're the fastest person. And when you're the fastest person, you're dragging people. What I want to do is I want to hire people that drag me ahead. Well, if you're unhealthy, it's not going to work. Fourth thing is relationships. What are your relationship goals in your life? Some of you guys are like, I'm interested in one. You just raise your hands and we can just do this real quick. Just situate it, keep it in the family. I'll hit that agent count goal for Mark Willis. We'll just breed him. Relationship goals would be things like, hey, I want to send my kids to college. Has anybody ever said that? By the time they get to be a teenager, you're like, heck with that. I mean, punk kid. I'm not sending them anywhere. Just give them a job with the rest of us, right? But imagine that you wanted to send your kid to college. What's it cost to go to college? A stinking lot. So you divide that by the number of years left before they graduate, and then what you have is you have a monthly requirement that you got to set aside. For instance, who has a child? Anybody? What's her name? Let's take Hank. Hank sounds like a nice boy. I didn't mean that. How old is he? 6. So he has roughly 12 years or 13 years before he's starting college. So you take maybe that 100 grand or 80 grand or 50 grand and you divide that by those remaining years, and you're going to realize that, hey, you have $400 or $500 a month that you got to start setting aside if that's a reality. If it's not, don't say it. Don't say that I would love to send my kids to college and you're actually not putting it aside in the bank account. When we coach agents, we got to understand these things. And the way that you get agents to have buy-in on these big goals is I'll say, here's what I want you to do. Julian, I'm so bad right now. What's Sandy's kid's name?
Darius.
Darius, cutest kid in the entire planet. So I say, Sandy, she wants to send Darius to college. But if she wasn't putting money in the bank account every single month, she wasn't really doing it. She's going to wake up and do the Homer Simpson 12 years later, and he's not going to be in college, right? So what I told her to do was, number one, put it in the bank account. But number two, every week I want you to say, Darius, I love you, and I'm going to send you to college. Darius, I love you, and I'm going to send you to college. What does that do? That's accountability, isn't it? You start getting these relationship goals. Hey, my spouse wants to go to X. My spouse wants this. We want a new house. We want a vacation, those sort of things. You start identifying what their goals are and you start helping them achieve their goals throughout the year. They're going to have complete and utter buy-in to your business and your financial goals. Then we get down and we go to your personal goals. Hardest thing for real estate agents is to say, hey, what's your personal goals? Most likely what they're going to say is, I would love to send my children this or do this for my spouse, because we spend such little time thinking about ourselves. We're so wrapped up in, I care about my customers, I love my customers, customer service, all that stuff. We got to care about certain people first. Ourselves, as somebody pointed out, right? The boss, and the ones closest to us, the two names that you read on the list. Well, what would your personal goals be? I want to learn leadership this year. I want to go to this specific place. Get it all outlined. When you have it outlined, what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, the trip to Africa is going to cost $10,000. And it's going to cost me $5,000 to put money in the bank account for my children's college. And then I'm going to have some money set aside for the family vacation. And my spouse wants a certain thing. Then I'm going to go up and I'm going to say, am I going to have enough energy? Gary Keller says that 84% of millionaires work out before they go to work. I happen to be the exception. To both categories. And then we look at our financial goals. How much monthly do we need to put away to pay off our debt? And then how much monthly do we have to have set aside for reserves? And And how much monthly do we have to have set aside for our investment goals? And then when you figure out the 2 through 5, what you're going to realize is how much you got to do in your business. Don't say that you want to do all those things, and it's not actually going to be mathematically possible in your business. So what I would want you guys to do is to start off right now thinking about what's the math that I have to do. And I meet with agents all the time, and this is why we got to have such a funny conversation, is they say, I would like to do $100 million in real estate, and I'm going to sell 200 homes. And when I divide the two out, they mathematically don't work. Anybody from Tacoma here? Whoop. So it'd be like saying that your average price in Tacoma is going to be $2 million. That's like 200 homes in Tacoma. Kidding. So what I do, I want you guys to do this with me. I want you to think about this. Somebody have a good medium-sized goal? Yes, ma'am. What's your name? Lee?
Yes.
Nice to meet you, Lee. What would your goal be for the year? 90 transactions. So let's start with that. What's your average price?
That's an increase as well.
So what has it been statistically?
400.
400,000. If she did that, she'd be 36 million in volume. Let's assume that we're getting paid a fair amount, 0.03 in commission. She'd make 1,080,000. Lee, not to put you on the spot, have you done that before? Okay, so this would be a step up for you. Okay, not a big deal. So now we know exactly how the math's working. Does that make sense? Each one of you guys got to do that simple math. Units times average price equals volume times your average percentage of your commission. And we have a number to work with. When it's all said and done, we can sit back and ask ourselves, mathematically, is this going to take care of all the other goals on my sheet? If not, you may need to increase it. Or maybe it's going to be far surpass everything you have planned, and you're going to have to start thinking about, where am I going to tithe? Where am I going to give that money to? What am I going to invest in? What else am I going to do? Once you figure out what your goals are for the year, now you got to have a plan. The plan that we use is called a GPS. Anybody have a GPS in their car? Yeah? What does that do for you? It gets you where you want to go. All right, so what this is this is a plan that gets you where you want to go. Are we in for that? All right. A GPS is goals, priorities, and strategies. Now, I do a GPS in a very special way, so I'm going to start off with the way that I was taught by Gary, and then I'm going to add 2 things that I do that I've never seen anybody else do. A GPS is often called a 1-3-5. The reason is because you have 1 goal, 3 priorities to achieve that goal, and 5 strategies for each priority. That's a little confusing, so let me start. We have how many goals?
1.
Bizarrely related to a book that came out last year. 1 goal. Okay. And then how many priorities do we have?
3.
3. Hello? Hello? 3. Facebook users, look up. Thank you. How many priorities? 3. And they allow us to accomplish our what? Goal. Okay. Now, for each one of those priorities, we have 5 strategies. How many strategies? 5. Each one of those strategies will allow us to accomplish that priority, that specific priority. Okay? Now, there's a million ways to do a 1-3-5. My recommendations today is you follow my rules. First rule, has to fit on 1 piece of paper. That way, when you laminate it and you put it next to the toilet paper roll, so you got something to read while you're getting your business done. Get your business done while you're getting your business done. And then you laminate so you're in the shower, so when you're in there you can read it. You got one in the car. You have it with you. You have it hanging on your wall. Now, Todd is one of my team leaders in Tacoma. Do you have a 1-3-5 for running my office?
Yeah.
And where's it hanging at?
I have 1 in my car, 1 in my office, 1 in my bedroom.
His wife appreciates that. Oh yeah. All right. Number 2, the 135 needs to be done in the same format. The same format. And I'll show you what that format is. Number 3, it's got to follow the template, which is like the format. And the 4th thing, super important, is you got to share it with people. If you don't share it with people, it's not going to happen. When you have, well, is there anybody in this room that's kind of unaccountable? Hello? Thank you. Sir, what's your name? Not you. Mind your own business. Blue shirt? What's your name? Mark? Oh, where's Matt at? Oh, hi Matt. Just kidding. All right. I'm an incredibly unaccountable person. I mean, for instance, if you put ice cream in my fridge and nobody's looking, I will eat it. If people are in the house, I will actually go into the bathroom and eat it there. Has anybody ever bought a cheeseburger and then hid the wrapper before you got home? Yeah, I'm an incredibly unaccountable person. Therefore, I can't have ice cream in the house. You don't get a body like this not eating ice cream. Seriously. I can't do that. Well, at work, I'm also unaccountable. Always have been. It's just the way I am. I'm distracted. Squirrel. It's just the way I work. That's why I've always shared an office with Jolene. Because when I'm monkeying around, she says, get back to work. I said the other day, she's meaner than a hornet. Right? If you share an office with your assistant, they know when you're dinking around or not. If you go in your office and you shut the door, all you're really doing is cheating on yourself. That's it. All of our team members work in an open atmosphere in a bullpen, because then we know who's dinking around and who's not. Share it, right? You got to make yourself transparent. So a GPS, we're going to have how many goals?
1.
We're going to have how many priorities? 3. And for each one of those priorities, we're going to have how many strategies? Hey, will you wait till I give you the cue, please? You can teach us. 5. Okay. Here's your goal. Oh my gosh. Here's your goal. If you're a real estate professional, just give me a commitment that I'm going to make one 135, just like I'm recommending. Just one time for me. Okay, is that fair?
Yes.
And all you guys are going to email that to me by next Friday. Is that fair?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
What's your email?
I ain't giving it to you. Okay. Lee, right? I will close how many? 90 units, amounts of homes, right? Equaling how much in volume do we come up with? That was commission. That is units times 36 million in volume, equaling $1,080,000 in commission. All right, so that's what you got to do. Now, in my market, if you're a brand new agent, we have, where's John at? John, we have a program that we teach where you do 24 homes, and what do we call that?
The $180,000 model.
We call it the $180,000 problem. Because in my market, at an average $250,000 home price, if you sold 24 homes, you would make $180,000 in gross commission. That's a pretty good income. Nothing wrong with that. I've never seen $180,000 in my garbage can. No. Okay, so come up with your number. How many people have done it? Right now. Okay, raise your hand. Okay, well, if the person next to you did not raise their hand, look at them and tell them to hurry up so we can continue with the class. Okay. I will close X amount of homes equaling X amount of volume equaling X amount of commission. That's it. That's the first goal. That's our goal. That's our one thing. If you accomplish that one thing, do you think that'll help your financial one thing? Yeah. Do you think it'll help all the other aspects of your life if you do it correctly? Yeah. Okay. Now we got 3 priorities. When I make a 1-3-5, I make sure that each one of my priorities are always the same. Meaning, the first priority is always buyers closed. The second priority is always sellers closed. And the third priority is who, have, no, and I'd add on that to be. You can't see it? You picked a really lousy seat. The first priority is buyers closed. Second priority is sellers closed. Third priority is who. What do we got to have? What do we need to know? Or who do we have to be? What I'm saying is, if I closed a certain amount of buyer transactions, and I closed a certain amount of seller transactions, and I hired the right people in my business to support that level, I had the right things implemented, systems, tools, software, and I know enough information, like how to do things differently, and I'm being a better leader or inspirational person, those 3 things should add up to me knocking my goal right out of the park. It's going to look like a Seahawks versus Denver Super Bowl game. Sorry. All right, priority 1. I will close X amount of buyer transactions. So Lee, let's play with you for a while. Of your 90 transactions, how many would you like to be buyer side? 40. Okay, so she's going to do 40 buyers, and that would mean she'd have 50 sellers. Great. If those numbers are out of balance, which means less than 60-40, Lee, I would be concerned. If you're all buyers, then you're leaving a lot of listings on the table. If you're all listings, then you're not cashing all the buyer leads that should be coming from those listings, or you don't know how to market them correctly. So you should be pretty close to balanced. Priority 2, Lee, will be I will close 50 listings. And the one thing I would add would be by taking how many listings this year. Because what happens when you take listings is that you might start taking listings today. Let's say we do Craig's program, 90 listings in 90 days, and we keep that going. By the time you get to October, November, December, you're going to have listings that go into the next year. So all the listings you take this year are not going to sell. Additionally, you're going to get fired. You're going to fire somebody else. They're going to rent it out. They're going to go into foreclosure. We had a signed listing agreement the other day where the guy failed to disclose that he was married, so the wife was not happy when we put the sign up. It's an awkward conversation to have. So you're going to figure out what is your list to sales ratio, understanding that you're going to keep them into next year. Now be pessimistic, because we got to have margin for screwing up here. What I'm looking for would be, let's say, I'm going to sell 70% of my listings this year, or 80%, or 60%. In 2006, 2007, 2008, it might have been 50% or 40%, because you were just sitting on a lot of inventory. How many people had a market rebound this year? Okay, so this is what I call, what happened last year is we had the evolution of genius agents. Genius agents are the agents that in the first half of last year, they had the best quarter or 2 quarters of their entire career, and they were geniuses. You know it because they bought a new car, they were spending money, they went to Zillow and they got some more zip codes, you know, and they were doing all these different things. They were spending their money. And then what happened was by the time you got to July, all the listings that they had collected for the last 4 years, it was like a hobby, you know, like baseball cards. They just collected them for quite a while. Those things finally sold. But when they sold, they had no more what? No more inventory. And then all of a sudden, they were no longer geniuses. And maybe their year was okay, or it averaged out to being a little bit better, but it wasn't phenomenal. You got to make sure that you're having enough listing appointments to take enough listings. Okay, the third priority. In order to get different results, I will need to know, have, and be in business with different people. In order to get different results, I will need to know, have, and let me break that down for you. I will need to know different things. Because if I knew how to be a $200 million a year producer, Jolene and I would have hit it last year. We didn't do it. We didn't know what we needed to know. Now, if I had the right systems in place, tools, lead generation, those sort of things, I would have hit my goal. We didn't do it. And if I was in business with the right people, we would have achieved a higher amount of production. Now, how close were we to our goal, Jolene? We're 15 units off from our goal. That's like a rash, man. It drove me nuts. Okay, third priority. And then we sit back and we ask ourselves, if we added up priority 1 to priority 2 plus priority 3, would it seem logical that Lee would accomplish her goal of selling 90 properties at $400,000 average price, equaling $36 million in volume, which would give you $1.8 million in commission? All right, so now we're starting to have a plan. It's starting to become clear. We're not the agents that go up on stage and say we're going to triple our business year and they have no plan. We're starting to come up with a plan, right, Lee? Yeah. All right. Now we got to think about what are our priorities. Because our priorities, if we define them further, we're going to add strategies to that. And those strategies are going to be more of action items, things that we're actually going to do. And I do this in a very specific way. So let's take the first priority. First priority was buyers, that we're going to close a certain amount. And what I do is I say, what are 5 strategies that are going to allow me to accomplish my priority of, in Lee's situation, 40 buyers closed? I always start with sphere. It should be the foundation of your business at a certain level of production. And what I do is after that item, I put a parenthesis after it, and I say, what percentage of my business is going to come from sphere? And not percentage, Lee, I'm saying how many units. So we're going to go down, or we're going to put parentheses after sphere for you, and how many units are you going to do this year from your sphere on the buyer side only?
Last year we did
75% of 40, we're looking at 30. Okay, so you're going to do 30 buyer transactions this year from your sphere. Okay, that's good, because now we're 75% of the goal, and we still have 4 strategies left to do that. So then we go down to the next one, the open houses. How many deals are we going to do this year from open houses? There's agents that do open houses and get no business, and there's agents that do open houses and knock it out of the park. We just hired an agent from another company, first year in the business, made $500,000 in commission, first year. All he did is he hosted 150 open houses in 1 year. Every Sunday from 11 to 1. And from 2 to 4, he hosted 2 separate properties. Unfortunately, he was a brand new agent, so he had no listings, so he borrowed them from people in his office. Unfortunately, his office didn't have enough listings, so he called other companies and asked to host those properties open. And he did. And then what he did when people walked in, he didn't have the little sign-in sheet. He just had a piece of paper, and he said, if you're not interested in this property, you'd like to look at something else, I do have a list of properties that many other agents don't know about. Do me a favor, just write your name, number, and email address on this piece of paper, this piece of scratch paper, and I'll give you a call after the open house. And he just set it on the table with a pen, and he walked away to the next person. And of the people that filled it out, he followed up with them, and he sold it. Right? So open houses, how much of your business is going to come from that? Third one, internet leads. How much of your business is going to come from internet leads? Fourth one, signs and flyers. How much of your business is going to come from signs and flyers? What do you got to have to get business from signs and flyers? Listings that have what in front of them? Signs and flyers. See how this whole thing's related? It's not rocket science. We aren't building bridges. Fourth or fifth one could be something like buyer classes, first-time home buyer classes. Could be farming, could be postcards. I don't care. You can actually pick whichever 5 that you want. I just think if you don't pick the first 4, you're a knucklehead. These 4 are just the foundational, easy things of the business. Now, of those 4 things, which one costs money? Internet leads probably the most expensive on the list. So if you had to just do 3 and you didn't have a lot of money, you could just do that and knock it out of the park. I promise you, if you own a Keller Williams office and you want to increase productivity, if you just taught people how to do open houses and you had a class every single week on how to do it like a rock star, and you taught them how to work their database, your office would blow up. It would change the world. Okay. When you add all these up, we're going to go down to Lee. We're going to say, Lee, when I added all those up, was it greater than 40, which was her priority? Okay. As long as it is, we know that we have a good plan in place to accomplish that first priority. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to sellers closed. Lee says that I'm going to close 50 seller side transactions this year. And we're going to start off with the number 1, which is Sphere. How many of the listings that she's going to take is going to come from her Sphere? Then we're going to go down and do open houses, internet leads for sellers, expireds, FSBOs, farming, REO, radio. There's a huge long list of things. All I'm saying is just pick 5. Have 5 strategies to make sure that you get enough listings this year. Otherwise, you end up like most of the agents in the nation. I call them one-hit wonders, like REO Speedwagon. You know what I mean? They have a business that looks like this, and it's like a chair, and they happen to have 1 leg. Now, when you have 1 leg on a chair and something happens, what happens to you? It falls down, right? That would be the agent that only relied on their Sphere a couple years ago, right? Our Sphere's still mad at us for selling them homes in 2005. It could be builders. Well, the builders have no dirt left to sell. You heard Mark and Gary talking about it, that, hey, we're going to have a lack of dirt to build on, which means if your only source of business was builders and they have no dirt to build on, you got a problem. But what about the REO agents that haven't called us back for 5 years straight? Joke's on them now. Right? When that goes away, what do they have? Or the short sale agent, the marketing person, the internet lead guy that all of a sudden Google changes things and all of a sudden it goes away? Whoa, that's a problem. You need to have a business that has multiple legs so it's sturdy, so it doesn't fall down. My recommendation is 5. Have 5 solid things, because if one of them goes away, you can still sit up. Your business is still going to last. Okay? When we add these things up, is it equaling greater than your priority? Hello? Where's that beeping come from? I think we have a KW Cares donation. It's outside. Somebody go collect. Lee, when we add all these things up, is it equaling greater than your 50 listings sold? Okay. Are any of you guys imagining that you have a plan right now and you're thinking, hey, I'm short a couple? Because what you've been doing the last couple of years have been getting you the results that you've been getting. That's why we come to family reunion. That's why we're sitting out here thinking about how do we add something. One of the reasons why our real estate team continues to grow is because we don't say, REOs, thank you, bye. Investors, thank you, bye. Expires, oh, thank you, bye. We say, and then we see Kinney Clausen, he's doing his farming thing, and we say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy Kinney, and we and that to our business. So our business continues to grow, and we have stronger and stronger legs. Well, over time, each one of those lead sources turns into what lead source? Sphere. Sphere. Yeah. And that's why I don't really care if I had to buy a lead from somewhere or get a thing that I had to cost me a little bit more money or pay a referral fee on, because I'm going to turn that one client, because I communicate with them until they buy or they die, I'm going to turn that one client into multiple transactions going forward. Okay, so I just add up all these priorities and I'm feeling good. If I have blanks, that's okay. That's when you pick up the phone and you start masterminding. Or you turn to page 138 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and you look at the entire list of lead sources. Now the third priority is hard. It's, once again, what do I need to know? What do I need to have? What am I going to do different? Who am I going to be differently? Who am I going to hire? Well, one of your strategies might be, hey, we're going to take bold this year. January last year, we started the year off by putting, I don't know, how many team members did we start off on bold, Julian?
About 10, maybe?
About 10. We sent 10 team members to bold, $8,000 we invested to start the year off, right? So they could get their production to a different level. We're going to take Recruit Select, because if we aren't surrounded by talent right now, we don't necessarily know how to find them and hire them. We're going to go to Family Reunion and Mega Camp. We're going to go out and learn something, because we don't know what we need to know to be the level of producer that we want to be. Number 2, we're going to hire an assistant. You have to. If you do not have one, you are one. Nothing wrong with that position. I guarantee you, Jolene, as my assistant, makes more than 99% of real estate agents in the nation. She's a rock star at what she does. But what she does is different than what I do, and I need to be able to have time to go out and do what I do to get the bills paid. Does that make sense? We got to separate these tasks out. Write this down. You ready? I care, Nick, about my hourly wage. I care about my hourly wage. What does that mean to you? What is my time worth? So you guys don't realize that every time you do something below your hourly wage, you're taking that money away from your family, and you're taking that time away from the 2 people that we wrote down at the start of the book. You think you're providing good customer service. I think you're cheating on your spouse. It's messed up. Don't do that. That's stupid. I care about my hourly wage. If you're just starting off in this idea of building a team, it's going to be everything beside lead generating and negotiating contracts and doing appointments. Everything else you got to be comfortable giving away. Now, everybody do me a favor. Look up at me. Okay. Now close your eyes. Imagine, just imagine with me, we're going to a nice place. It's a love nest. It's safe. Imagine this. Imagine that when you handed somebody a task, it always got completed the way you wanted it. Wait, we're not done yet. Shut your eyes. Imagine that when you went on vacation, you never had to answer your phone or check your email. Imagine if you're only surrounded by talent, you had no victims in your workplace, and with that you had no drama. Imagine that you were 100% confident that your customers would be handled in a greater level of care than you could even do yourself. Imagine if your business created a value proposition that you were so proud of, that you knew that when everybody listed with you, that it was the best decision they've ever made, that if somebody listed with your competitor, that they were just dumb, that they made a mistake, because nobody cares about them as much as you. The only way that that can happen is if you're hiring and finding talent. Now look up at me. Now if this person is sitting next to you, don't shake your head. Are you surrounded by talent right now? Can you walk away? Do you feel good about it? Because every time you hand somebody a task, do you get it back complete? Anybody ever played hot potato? Okay. Here's my thoughts on this. When I play hot potato and I throw you a potato and you throw it back at me, we have a problem. If I hand you a hot potato, I want French fries back. Does that make sense? Right? If I get anything less than French fries back, I have to manage you. And if you work for me in this room, you know clearly if I have to manage you, you're what?
Fired.
See what I mean? We're real clear. Now, how would that change your world? You want more time with your family, you want to do more business, you got to quit working below your hourly wage, and you got to hire somebody talented. That might be a showing agent, might be an assistant, might be more buyer's agents, I don't know. The fourth thing is that you need systems. Maybe the websites. How do I get the lead generation going on in my world? Because I don't have enough leads to hit my goals. Well, what's the system that I use to manage my listings or manage my business? The fifth thing is, do people stay working with me? Am I a good enough leader? We're not inherently born leaders. We're actually pretty poor leaders in general. Are we studying something like leadership? Are we learning to retain people? When we teach Recruit Select, we talk about the three classes, the three separate classes that Recruit Select offers. Well, you know that you hired you knew that you did a good job in hiring if in the first 90 days you have no drama. If I hired the right person, at the end of 90 days, I'd have no drama in my business. So, somebody writing down, I hired the wrong person? Right, no drama. In my organization, we time block drama. Time block is available anytime that you want to handle it for drama between 5:30 and 6 p.m. Unfortunately, Julian and I leave at 5:15. We just have no time for it. Does that make sense? No time for drama. Drama in your workplace is time sucks. I call that loser slime. When you walk by it, it gets on your jeans and it stinks really, really bad. Right? You know that you're not working with talent. Now, the second class, Train, Lead, Motivate, says that when we're bringing people into our business, are we getting them up into production? You'll know that you hired the right person if in days 90 through 180, your business is increasing. So if you hire somebody and you're not making more money, do you have a problem? Yes or no? Yes. Hello? Yes. Yes, we have a serious problem, right? So ask yourself the question, do I have drama right now? And is my business increasing based on the people that I hired? It's not all that easy to tell. So what Mark Willis taught me is you take everybody in your organization and you rank them. And you rank them 1 through 10. And you use 3 different colors to do this. You use brown, red, and green. Now, 8, 9, and 10 are green. 4, 5, 6, 7 is red. And 1, 2, 3, and I'll give it 4 too, is brown. Green means that these are great people. 10 almost never happens. When you find a 10, you're replacing yourself and you're going to go do something else. Right? 9 is an amazing person. 8 is a great person. 7, they're hitting the standard. The standard on your team is 24 transactions. They're just doing the standard. There's nothing exceptional about the standard, just the standard. Okay? The goal is to get that 7 from red to green. Now, 4, 5, and 6, that's you're worried. It either means you haven't trained them correctly, they're being unaccountable, you're not holding them accountable, or they're potentially the wrong persons. If you rank that person 1 through 3, as Mark Willis says, brown goes down like in a toilet, you flush them. You just got to get rid of them. Move out of your life. Once you get these priority 3 done, you add it to your priority 1 and your priority 2, and you ask yourself the question, if I did these 3 things, would I accomplish my goal for the year? Lee, if we did these things, would we accomplish your goal for the year? $1,080,000 is a lot of commission. That's pretty impressive. You do these things, I promise you'll do it. All right. So now we're past where Keller Williams have taught us. And we're into the 1355 who. Now write that down for me. 1355 who. Okay. What we do is we have our goal, we have our priorities, and we have our strategies. And what I've done is I've taken on a whole separate piece of paper each one of my strategies and written them on the top of that piece of paper. So what was one of the strategies that we have? Sphere. So I write sphere on the top of a piece of paper. Then I grab another piece of paper and I write another strategy like open houses. Okay? And then I go and on another piece of paper I write the other strategies, which would be internet leads, thank you. And then whatever the other ones are. Excuse me for a minute. You guys hear the sirens?
What'd you do, Ben?
I know, right? So you write them each on a separate piece of paper. And what you ask yourself the question is, what are the 5 things that I could do to ensure that I would get at least X amount of transactions from that strategy? So one of our strategies would be Sphere. I'm just going to share with you guys exactly how we do it in our business. So if you wanted to coach with me, say you're in one of my market centers, and the first thing we do a 1-3-5. I get rid of 50% of the people that I coach because I say, you cannot come back and meet with me until you've completed your 1-3-5. Most people don't even do that, so I don't even have to talk to them. So then they're gone. The next group of people I say, I want you to write each one of your strategies on a separate piece of paper, and I want you to number 1 through 5 below it. Okay? So under Sphere, we're going to write how many numbers? 5. And then after each one of those things, we're going to write who to the right. Just the words who. Okay? I'm going to show you how that lays out. We're going to take our Sphere. We're going to write down how many closings are we going to get from our Sphere on the top of that paper. And then we're going to create a plan. What are the 5 strategies that we're going to implement to make sure that we get X amount of business from our Sphere? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to call each one of the members of our Sphere once per month. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to mail something to them once per month. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to email them something 2 times per month. The fourth thing is we're going to visit them 3 times per year. And the fifth thing is we're going to bother them, stalk them, harass them on social media 1 time per month. That would be things like endorse them on LinkedIn, click like, comment on a photo, follow them, retweet them, do something. Just make sure that they're seeing us. And when you add all of these things up, how many times a year are we going to call them? 12. A lot of math majors in the room. How many times a year are we going to mail them? 12. We're going to email them how many times a year? 24. What do we have so far? Well, I lost a lot of you guys on when we're adding 3 numbers. This is tough. 40, 48, thank you. Somebody get a spreadsheet out. All right. And then, how many times are we going to visit them? 3. What are we at now? Hello? 51. I have to tickle you guys to make something happen around here. Or give you guys a muffin as a prize or something, I don't know. Number 5, we're going to bother them on social media. How many times a year?
12.
12. Add that plus the last ones, what do we have?
63.
63. That's more touches than a what, Nick?
33.
You got to say it.
Oh, no.
Come on, Nick. Nothing. That's more touches than a Michael Jackson video. Dead serious. 63 touches. Imagine if you touched your database 63 times and you did not go to jail, would you get more business from them?
Yeah.
You would, right? Yes, ma'am. No, it doesn't. I don't care what order it's in. Does anybody have $20 bill? Nick, do you have a $20 bill? Is it the money that I paid you out of losing the bet? You got nothing?
I have a 25.
Okay. Whoever. The rest of you guys just bring them up after class.
Sooner or later, we have to give it up.
What's your name?
David.
David. Okay, I got to get this back to you.
Sounds good.
All right, let me ask you a question. Does anybody feel like if they talk to their Sphere 63 times, they'd be bothering them? It feels a little weird, doesn't it? All right, let me show you a better example. Okay, so I walk up and I hand you this $20 bill. You don't have to work on her from now on. This is her $20 bill. I give you that $20 bill. Was that awkward for me to give that to you? I need a better example. You're happy accepting it. Okay, now, what are you going to do with it? You're going to spend it. It's just a piece of paper. Why would you spend it? It's just a piece of paper, right? You're touching it. Feels like paper. Why could you spend it? Because it's money, but what is money? Value. So if I walked around to my database and I said, well, she's holding on to that, right? And I handed that to you, and I was given $20 bill out every time I spoke to my people, would they care if I talked to them 63 times a year? They wouldn't. So the question is, am I sending out this canned crap that I got from some book on real estate things that nobody uses, right? Or am I sending them something of value? Something they really care about? Am I being the economist of choice? Am I being the expert in the market? Am I sending them something funny or entertaining or inviting them somewhere good? Am I asking them for help, and am I giving help in return? I'm going to give this back to this gentleman.
Thanks, Matt.
If you're delivering value, it's not going to matter how many times you touch them. Now imagine that you have a team right now, and you're going back and you're saying, if you want to work on my team, you got to work your sphere. And they're like, sure, high five.
Nah.
And then we walk away, and at the end of the year, I say, well, how many deals did you do from your sphere? And you're like, nothing. The reason is because they didn't have a plan. And the 135, what we did is we created a plan that could be implemented for everybody. If you own a real estate office and you make your agents do these 5 things, your office will change. That's it. Now, the only thing that could hold them back would be they didn't know what to say. They don't have good scripts. I learned a couple good scripts recently. One of them was from Diana Kokoska. She said, who do you know that I should know? So then I thought about that, and if I said that every single month, it might sound kind of weird. So what I did is I came up with 3 different ways to say it. First thing would be for buyers. Who do you know that I should know that might be interested in a really good deal? That's not an awkward conversation to have, is it? The reason is I have a whole lot of homes that I don't believe are going to be here next week, that I'm trying to connect with somebody that's really looking for a new place to occupy or to invest in. That's not that awkward, is it? All right. Next scenario would be, who do you know that I should know for sellers? I got this problem. I have a couple of families that are looking to relocate into South Bellingham, and they've seen all the homes that are currently on the market. So as a favor to them, I told them I'd call through everybody that I know and just ask a simple question. Who do you know that I should know that might have tried to sell a home in the past, who's interested in selling, or had even thought about selling, that I could help connect so that these people have a home to live in? That's not an awkward conversation to have, is it? And then the last one that I do is, who do you know that I should know that might be interested in a career in real estate? Because I'm always trying to grow my business. Now you can do that as a takeaway as well. Let's, for instance, we call Bill on the phone. Bill, you. I call you on the phone, and Bill gives me the normal kind of response. Let's say he's an internet lead. We can use the same script on them, and he says, I'm just looking. I'm not really interested in buying a house right now. I'm just looking. You could break out the same script and say, no problem, Bill. I would like to be your agent, whether I'm your agent in 3 months, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years. I'm not the kind of guy that would pressure you. But would it be okay if I asked you for a favor? Who do you know that I should know that might be interested in saving 15 to 20% off a property? Because I have a list of homes that I consider to be the 5 best priced properties in town that aren't even going to be available next week. They're going to sell fast. And I know that you're not in a hurry and you could be a year or 2 out, so it's not really something that you're thinking about. Who do you know that is interested in buying there right now? What does that do? Either he's going to come and say, hey, I don't want to miss out on this. Or if he's any decent of a human being, he's going to refer me to somebody that would want a deal. Right? If not, you just hang up on him because he's a jerk. Not Bill, though. No. You are from New York. Statistically speaking, there's an odds that you could be. No, New Yorkers are very nice, actually. Yeah. Well, they honk at the horn at you all day. So what are the things that we could say? Are we saying the right things? When we mail them something, are we sending them something that is absolute garbage? Are we sending them something that's of value? When we email them, are we emailing them something of value, etc.? So you go through and you do a 1, 3, 5 for each one of your strategies. And then afterwards, you go and you write a who. Now, Lee, who should call their sphere? You or somebody else? Yeah. I'm going to say it's going to be you. It's your sphere, okay? That's you. Do you have to be the person that mails them? No. So after that, I write not me. Okay? And then do you have to be the person that emails them? No. So you're going to, after that, you're going to write not me. Now visit them. You get to divide that in half because you got to show up, but you don't have to prepare it. Right? Somebody else could do all the rest of the stuff. Now social media, does it have to be you? No. I guarantee you if you sent something to me on social media, it wasn't me writing you back. So I tell you right now, it doesn't have to be you. Get it? So what you got done doing when you do a 5 who for each one of your strategies, you actually have the job description for your staff. This is what you got to go do every day. So you're thinking about yourself, hey, I don't know if I want to hire an assistant, I don't know what they're going to do. You finish the 5 and the who for each one of your strategies, you know exactly what they're going to do every day. And if you hire the right assistant, you hand them your 1, 3, 5, 5 who, and they only come to you if they have a question, otherwise they implement it and execute it. Does that make sense? Is that an aha for you guys?
That's good, yeah.
For sure, right? Me, not me, not me, me, not me. Well, you'll realize in most situations, you're not part of the equation. One of the most humbling things that I've ever done in real estate was stop going on listing appointments and realizing that when everybody called to list their home with Ben Kinney, nobody cared if I showed up. That's a weird feeling. Nobody cared. We listed more homes, in fact. That's bizarre to me. We get so attached that people want to see us, but they really don't. When I go to my doctor, I want to get the rash fixed. That's it. I don't care if it's him or the nurse. Just give me the shot. Thank you for coming. I'm out of here. Right? Most things that I do in the doctor's office, somebody else does it. Well, do you want to be paid like the doctor, or do you want to be paid like the nurse? Which one is it? You guys get to decide. When you're thinking about where you're going to get your business, I always refer to the MREA books, page 138. Literally, you come into my conference room, you open it up, you'll see that when we do the 135, I'll open up the book and I'll hand it to you. And it'll give you the list of business. And what I did, as I said, here are my 8 best sources of buyers, personally, me. Here are my 8 best sources of sellers. That would be things like Sphere. Now, at my level of business, am I talking about just my sphere? No, I'm talking about each individual member of my team and their plan to work their sphere and my plan to work my sphere on our team's past clients. I add that all up to equal our business. Farming, open houses, sign calls, search engines, Craigslist, social media, and marketing. That's where our buyer business comes from. Sellers, sphere, farming, circle prospecting, expireds, FSBOs, search engines, social media, and marketing. Some additional sources you could think about: classes, door knocking, builders, banks. Kinney has this program called The Road Back Home, where he teaches people who had a home in foreclosure, a home in short sale, on how to buy a home going forward. In your market, do you think there's people out there that could use a class? What we're realizing is that most people already qualify for a home loan, but they don't believe it's possible. That's a big aha, isn't it? Think about all the people you short sold homes to in the last 10 years. Start calling them and talking about when would you like to start owning a home again. Auctions, attorneys, first-time home buyers, you add all these things up. So how do you guarantee results in your business? Well, to do that, you're going to have insurance. Insurance to make sure that this plan goes correctly is you're going to have to measure your results often. Now, every day at 5 p.m. when I come into my office, Monday at 5 p.m., Julian, what do I expect to be on the wall? My stats. And what's included in our stats?
Last month's activity in comparison to the last 4 years.
So we have the last couple years of production all written on a whiteboard Where were we at the same week last year and the same week the year before? How many pendings do we have? How much commission have we generated? How many listings do we have? How many showings were we getting? How many Craigslist leads were we getting? How many other leads were we getting? All those sort of things. And then I know very easily what's going on in my business. Are you looking at it that close? If you aren't measuring those things, you're going to have no idea. You got to know every single week. And it's so important to me to know those numbers. And I like to just have them right on the whiteboard, so then if I'm sucking, everybody knows that I'm sucking. I just put it up there. There's no reason to hide it. I think every agent should have a scoreboard in front of them that's publicly visible to their peers that would help motivate them. How many pendings do I have? How many listings do I have? And how many solds do I have per year? Now you got to ask yourself the question, how would your life be different if everything that we're talking about went right? How would your life be different? If you had no debt, if you had higher production, if you had money in reserves, if you were paying for college, if you're taking the vacations you wanted, how would it be different? The problem is that us as agents, we sit back and we think that bigger is harder. Last year, I took a week off a month every month. I averaged 4 or 5 hours a week on my team for the entire year. We had the best year of our career. I think it's because I was actually further away from the business. And I got to focus on the offices and recruiting and doing my other jobs. Not that I didn't work, I just focused on other things. Because I knew that when I hired the right person, Jolene, and then if I trained Jolene how to hire the right people, I wouldn't have to worry about it. I could have as big of a life as I want, and I wouldn't have to be involved. That was the gift that Gary Keller gave us. He said we get to take an industry of people that used to be teachers or farmers or business people or retired cops or any of those sort of things and change it to now an industry of business owners. Not that the business owners now didn't used to do something else, because all of us are waking up and say there's no bigger opportunity in the planet than selling real estate. There's no bigger opportunity than having a real estate team. Dollar for dollar, hours invested, what is your pay? Unless you're dang stinking lucky, there isn't a better thing for you to do. This idea that we're talking about could change your world. Now the 135 is your roadmap, it's your plan, it's how you get where you're going. If you do it, just simply doing it, you're going to see the holes in your business. If you share it with your people or your staff, you're going to get results. If you do the 5 who's, you're actually going to have a manual for how your business is going to operate. All we do is we take the open house 5 who and hand it to a new agent when they start. This is how they host open houses. We take the signs and flyer one and hand it to them. This is how we do open houses, or signs and flyers. Give them the sphere one. This is how we work our sphere. It's how we expand into new markets. It's how we expand our business, is simply having people implement the 135s that we created. Is this making sense for you guys? Unfortunately, this is probably the driest, boring class that I've ever taught. I hope that it helps you guys today, and I hope that it was a good experience. Before we end, what I want to do, I want to give you guys, make sure that on the screen we have the link to download it. I'm teaching the listing presentation class, probably my best class that I've ever taught. 2 doors down. Is that right, Nick? Yeah. Next door at 3 o'clock. But to download this presentation.
5 o'clock.
5.
Hello?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, thanks. That's why I work with them. Thank you guys for coming. Get out of here.